and welcome to the first video, I guess, of the new series that I have coming up. That's actually called Challenge Accepted! Where you, the viewers of Battlefield Play for Free, get to suggest which weapons or loadouts for me to use in a full round video. And of course I'll give my thoughts on the weapon or loadout that you have me choose via commentary, of course, throughout the video, as well as some random blurbs here and there. Now, I know what you're all thinking. How do I submit a challenge? Well, all you have to do is leave a comment with your challenge suggestion in this video, and the one with the most likes will get picked for the next video. Of course, a shout out and readout of the loadout will be put in the video as well. And of course, we'll be using the same format for making a suggestion for the next video, and so on and so forth. With all that being said and out of the way, let's get started. This video suggestion came from Tommy Boys, and he commented, I have a special suggestion and challenge, P90 with M145. I dare you. Like so everyone can see. Well, Tommy Boys, consider this challenge accepted. Of course, I have the P90 with the M145 scope attached to it without any attachments whatsoever. Also, the sidearm that I have is the P226. In case things got a little hairy, I decided to use that just in case. I know at first glance a lot of you are probably thinking the P90 with the M145 sight. What the poop? How is he ever going to do this? Well, there are some ups and downs with this, especially without any attachments. Of course, one of the things I liked about this suggestion is the simple fact that I get to use the M145 sight, which is actually a lot better considering the iron sights on the M90 are a little bit more closed off and in, especially when you try to do farther range engagements on your enemy. So this sight was really nice for being able to get a full field of view. And of course you get that additional view of extended range as well as being able to see overall better where your position of your enemy's at. Now, due to the fact that I'm not using any attachments on the P90 and just this sight, there was a lot of fighting that I had to do with the gun to get it to perform up to par and to adjust a little bit on how I should use the gun. Of course, using it hip fire, you'll see me do that a lot of areas in this video just for the simple fact that the recoil wasn't as heavy when using it. And of course, knowing that this is a SMG type of weapon or a personal defense weapon, I know that I had to get as close as possible to my enemies without them firing their shots first and taking me out from medium or longer ranges. That's of course if I just stuck with using the hip fire accuracy on it. Now, the biggest thing I had to fight with for the P90 was the actual recoil when you aim down sight, because when you fire the P90, the recoil just goes to the right. You know, when I look at this gun and see the recoil, I immediately think of a typewriter, and as soon as you stop firing, it goes back into position. The thing is that recoil when you're aiming down sight isn't just a little bit to the right. I mean, it is a forced, hey, you're firing me down this sight, I'm going to the right, whether you like it or not. So one of the things I also had to do is you'll notice in the video that it seems a little bit more trained. That's because I'm also moving my mouse to the left to adjust to that forced right recoil when I'm firing. So it's like holding the mouse button down and moving left. However, I will say this, if you catch an enemy moving from left to right, of course that recoil is really beneficial. However, if they're moving from right to left, you're going to have an extremely hard time just trying to lay down the trigger and fire at them if they're at medium ranges. And especially so at far range. I mean, the P90 is definitely a gun that competes up close, but of course I was able to make certain pop shots come off accurately at medium range too if I were to do a burst shot of maybe 1 to 2 shots, no more than that, because of that recoil. I mean, it's terrible, especially when you're using it with the M145 and you don't know how to adjust yourself to it. Of course, due to that, very rarely do you ever see me try and make an attempt to go out into the open areas on this map. You'll see that I try to draw the enemies close to me to try and take them out with the P90 from closer ranges. So that was definitely the key point there, was just to draw my enemies in and just take them out from there. The other thing that made this a daunting task was the simple fact that I knew I had to go through and try and capture flags or to assist my team by taking out the enemies. So that way they could capture the flags, because we were actually at a losing standpoint right now. But eventually we do turn it around, which is quite nice, but it was just from some extreme cases of luck and a bit of critical thinking and tactics used to be able to advance and take those flags. For instance, like right there, that guy that just ran from right to left, there's a prime example of how hard that was to try and take out that enemy, where it should have been relatively simple if I had maybe the correct attachments with it. But like I said, it's really tough because of that right recoil. For the aesthetics of the gun, the sight does seem to take up a big portion of the screen too, especially when you're using it on hip fire. I mean, kind of blocks your vision a little bit from the right side. I know there's a lot of right being said in this video, but it's because it's right. Of course, one of the great things that I had going with this gun was the simple fact that I had little to no reload time with it, just for the simple fact of the high ammo capacity in the magazines for the P90. I mean, you get 50 bullets, which is really nice, you know, to have in a magazine for any gun, realistically. And the only downside with that, though, is I only have 2 magazines worth of 50 bullets, so 100 bullets total that I was dealing with, and you know, the gun's not really that high damaging in comparison to maybe an assault rifle or a medic class light machine gun. So of course I have to still be very careful with my shots and not just blow them on long range or medium range engagements. I still need to get as close as possible to my enemy, regardless if I'm using the M145 sight or not. As far as everything went in-game with this actual loadout, I was playing more of the offensive role than what I was more comfortable with because of this loadout. But of course I was doing my best to hug around corners and to stay within close quarters combat situations, like I've said before, because my team seemed to be lacking a little bit in the department of capturing flags and being organized and helping one another and watching each other's backs. Of course you're going to have those types of rounds from time to time, but of course towards the very end we all seemed to pull together and work together and turn it around for our favor to be able to go through and take the win. Okay, so my thoughts on this setup as far as it being a recommended setup for everyone to use? No. For said reasons, because number one, it's without any attachments whatsoever. Number two, the simple fact of that recoil, you would definitely have to make certain gameplay adjustments to your style just to be able to use it for that type of recoil without any attachments. And number three, using the M145 sight, while it may be better than the standard iron sight on this gun, you still have the rapid aim red dot to use. So, you know, it's not really recommended to even use this gun unless you want to go into a game with the realization that this is some type of novelty gun and not like a super awesome elite weapon to use. Of course, if you're really adamant about using this gun, just a couple things to keep in mind to use it as effectively as possible. You want to keep your enemies as close to you as possible, so that way you can just use the hipfire accuracy to your advantage, and that recoil is not as forced upon you as it is when you aim down sight. But if you do decide to use the iron sight, of course it's best to use against enemies that are heading in a more rightward direction, not a leftward one, or else it's going to be harder for you if the enemy's traveling from right to left to keep trained on them with the sight when firing. Okie dokie guys, that's all I have for the P90 with the M145 sight. Just to recap again, of course, like I said, this is the first premiere video of the Challenge Accepted series that I'm starting to do. So, like I said, just all you have to do is leave a comment below for your suggestion, and whichever comment below actually gets the most likes, I will actually make the next Challenge Accepted video based off of that, and that person will get a shout out. So, of course, be fair, be friendly, and put out your suggestions. And make sure when you do it, of course, when the next video comes out, you would also follow the same format. Like I said, you would just post the comment down on there since it would be the most recent video, and then I'll make the next one based off of that suggestion, and so on and so forth. With that being said, I'm looking forward to your suggestions, and I'll see you all next time.